Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel. As part of my George Foreman Tribute Fight earlier tonight, we got in Machina Arcana from somebody off of BGG. So we're going to crack it open and unbox and see what all is in the box. Now, this is a game that has caught my eye for a while. I was looking into it, I was kind of hesitant about it, but then I finally decided, you know what, I'm in the mood for another good Cthulhu Mythos dungeon crawl, so I'm going to grab this one. So, let's start by taking a look at the back for the intro. 3rd edition cooperative horror adventure by George Billick. I probably just butchered the pronunciation of his name. In Machina Arcana, players take on the role of explorers thrown into dreadful halls, scratching for survival and progressing through the chapters from one of many horror stories. Even if they manage to stay alive until the end of the story, they will face a special mini-game at the finale of each scenario. The unique environment, interactive inventory, combat mechanics, and tactical diversity are all enveloped in an integral storytelling experience that provides both total immersion in the world and full replay value. But beware, a horde of unique and terrifying monsters are bent on destroying your party. If that isn't enough, horror itself disrupts and hinders any remaining hope in these comfortless chambers. Let's crack this open, now once we get it back down, and see what's in here. There are supposed to be 2 expansions in here as well. I forget what they're called, but we'll find out if they're in here or not. So, let's pull the lid off and see what we've got in here. Let's see, inside the box it's all empty. And it looks like there was a rules update, so I'm very appreciative to have that. Okay. First thing we're greeted by is one of the player aids. This is very flimsy paper. Everything's there. There should be 4 of those in the box in theory, because in theory, this is a 1 to 4 player game. We've got the manual, which we'll give our cursory thumb through at the end. Okay. There are the other 3 player aids. I'm glad that the paper survived for the most part. Let's see, we've also got the... Okay, looks like we do have the expansion rules for at least 2 eternities, so everything should be in here. Not sure what this is. Looks like more rules for that. Then we've got the guidebook, but again, I'm going to give the manual our cursory thumb through. I think this is the storyboard, if I remember correctly, and man, this thing is dual-layered board. This thing's going to stand up to some abuse. Looks like we've got the monster spawn track, the horror. I forget what these are. I'm sure the manual will explain all of that. Then we've got our player boards. Again, dual-layered. Very good quality, so these will stand up to some abuse. We can get that out of the way as well. Then we're starting to get into our standees. Got quite a few characters in here. I'm not sure I like having them on the bases, though. I'll have to figure out what I want to do with that. But we can lift the insert up. Get that out of the way for the time being. We've got all the monsters over here. I don't think this storage is going to fly for long. I'll figure out what I want to do with all of this. And I'm also not going to go through every single standee in here. Then we've got the tiles. Looks like 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually, we've got a couple more in here as well. Oop. Trying not to send them flying. I definitely like how there's clear divisions on each of them so you can tell what the spaces are. But I'm not going to go through every single one of those. We've got more tokens and such in here. Got a sheet of foam. What looks to be all the cards in here. Wow. Okay, so what hasn't been... Looks like 2 of the scenarios haven't been cracked open yet. But we've got Statue of Despair, Horror in the Ice Endgame, the Beast Endgame, Recurrence, Geometry of the Void Endgame. Okay. Obviously, I'm not going to go through every single card in here. This is one of the rare games that I'm probably going to wait on sleeving. Just because I know there's a Kickstarter for this coming. I'm just lifting up the box in here. We can get these. We'll get the extra... There's some extra cardboard in here. We'll get that out of here. This is a game I'm probably going to wait on sleeving. Mostly because I know there's a new Kickstarter coming for this game, and I'm thinking very hard about backing that. I'm not going to go through every single card in here, though. Let's see if I can get this back in the box. There we go. Wasn't being cooperative for a second there. But yeah, you can see a whole mess of cards in here. That seems to be holding together for the time being. We'll see what I want to do for storage on this. Looks like we've got more bases in here. More markers. And a bag in here. Actually, it looks like this bag. Okay. Here's all the dice. So there are special dice that you use for this game. The D10 looks to be pretty normal, but there are some specialized dice in here that you need for the game. Okay, not sure what these tokens are for. There will probably be something in one of the rule books that'll explain more about what those are for. But we can put everything back in the box. And now I'm trying to remember how he had this. Let's see, I think it was tiles next. And this went in there. Okay, it's not wanting to lay flat. There it goes, though. Okay. I don't think this is going to go in here, is it? Oh, yeah. It looks like that's where it's supposed to go anyway. Wait a second. That's not going to close. Unless I do it like that. Actually, let's do this. That's not going to close. Okay, let's do this. Since I'm trying to keep everything, since I'm basically trying to keep it so it's mostly, so that the top of the box is vertical this way. That is not wanting to close for me. All right, now hopefully it'll stay closed. Okay. That'll all go there. I'll definitely figure out something different for storage before this game gets near the table. So it looks like I do have the 2 expansions in here as well. That can go there. That can go here. We'll get this out of the way. And then, as I mentioned, we'll give the manual our cursory thumb through. Okay. And now we'll thumb through the manual. We're not necessarily learning to play the game yet. I'll have the guidebook out when I start to get serious about learning how to play this game. Okay. Okay, it looks like those tokens were explorer markers, and we've got horror markers. Looks like we've got 3 scenarios in here to start with. Plus the 2 expansions, as I mentioned, in here as well. How everything's laid out. How to set everything up. Okay. Looks fairly straightforward so far. Unit attributes. Unit effects. Map tiles, other effects that relate to that. Items. Chapter effects. Events and abilities. Targeting and how line of sight works. Effects. Monster behavior. Weird to put the table of contents at the back, but at least there's something of a table of contents / index there. And looks like this is another index spot for everything, but more to the point, that once the lid decides it wants to cooperate, that is everything in the box with Machina Arcana 3rd edition. Looks like a very interesting game, and I'm looking forward to getting this one on the channel at some point. It will come in the future. I'm not exactly sure when yet, though. I've got to figure some things out on my content schedule. Anyway, speaking of the content schedule, we've got a lot of great stuff coming up on the channel this weekend. So, Saturday we'll be continuing with Mystical Munchies out of the Star Wars Life Day cookbook, as we'll be making the dessert, Clatoine Crepes. Sunday, we have another new debut on the channel, as we're playing Nemo's War. And Monday, we will be continuing Metal Gear Mondays, as we're trying to break out of actually, we're going to have a lot of Metal Gear Mondays, because Monday's Memorial Day. So we'll have at least 2 episodes of Metal Gear Mondays, but I'm thinking 3. We'll start off with the first one in the morning, as we're trying to break out of the holding cells, continuing our playthrough of Metal Gear Solid, the board game. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.